was on with Steve Bannon on War Room talking about America sending tanks over there. And by the way, what's our big picture in Ukraine? Some interesting thoughts here by Joe Kent. Let's listen.
Was it feasible to put the M1 Abrams tank with the gas turbine engines and as advanced as that is, and just turn it over to guys with 6 weeks of training and hope that Joe Kent's level? Is that feasible, sir?
No, it's not. And anytime we've tried that, it's a catastrophic failure. I mean, when you see big arms packages like this, especially with something like the Abrams tanks or even the Bradley infantry fighting vehicles, you have to look at not just the initial cost of how much it's going to cost the taxpayers, money we don't have to go over there, but also, like you said, the logistical trail. I mean, those Abrams tanks they take a good deal of upkeep. And so this is a huge payday for the military-industrial complex. And again, has anybody explained yet to the American people what we're risking World War III for? Like, what's big picture? Why are we doing any of this?
If you were in Congress right now, would you demand that Joe Biden come through and, like, let's have a golf of tongue King Russell, but come forward? You have to make a formal presentation to the House of Representatives as the founders wanted, sir?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a reason why the founders didn't give one guy in the White House, regardless of what party he's in, the ability to take us off to war. That's supposed to be done in Congress.
Didn't give a guy named General Washington. Could already won a pretty big war, right? They said, no, you still got to go to the people's house.
Yep.
And you got to make your case, right?
Absolutely.
Yep, you're supposed to go to Congress for war. But who needs that, right? We can just go to war if we want to go to war. To Joe Kent's point, nobody has convinced us that we need to do World War III over Ukraine. Nobody, literally no one, has made a compelling case, even if they just make stuff up. Just make it up and lie. No one's even lied and made stuff up to convince anybody that this is worth World War III. Because you can throw out, we need to save democracy, and you can talk about, some of the agricultural exports from Ukraine. But other than those two things, which are, by the way, democracy, what is that? We got to save democracy. Well, folks, we got our own democracy here that's got some major problems. And by the way, if we think Ukraine is some kind of constitutional republic, who are we kidding? Their government's so mangled and corrupt and twisted that it's unrecognizable compared to America. So this idea that they're the gold standard, that they're a bastion of liberty in Europe, this is a lie. They are corrupt to no end, Ukrainians. But what's the overall vested interest that America has there? That question remains unanswered. Nobody knows. Nobody knows what we're doing there. Why we're so bloodthirsty over there. Why do we need to send them tanks? Why do we need to send them billions? Nobody can make a compelling case as to why we should be doing that. America's not reliant on Ukraine. I mean, we're just not. From any national security standpoint, from our electrical grid to our tech industry, from our agricultural industry. Okay, maybe some fertilizer. Okay, maybe like agricultural fertilizer, but can't we source that other places? I mean, there's just not this big, in your face, we've got to do Ukraine argument. There's just not. And that's what Joe Kent is saying there. But here we are. We've already spent $100+ billion over there. Now we're sending them tanks. By the way, Joe Biden said last year, while he was president, he said if someone questioned about like sending tanks and planes over there, and Joe Biden said, oh, no, basically we'll never do that because that would be World War III. I mean, we just can't send tanks and planes over there. And what do you know? Here we are, 12 months later. What are we doing? We're sending tanks, and we're talking about F-16s. And the other point that Joe Kent made is you can't just like drop a tank off in Ukraine, and these 19-year-olds are just going to jump in there like it's a Chevy and just put it in drive and just take off. I mean, these things are like sophisticated, complex. I probably got all kinds of controls, all kinds of maintenance, how to load the munition, how to fire the munition. I mean, there's probably months worth of training to even get our own military members like vaguely familiar with the machine, much less being like an expert on it and being able to fight in war. But we're just, we're shipping them over there now. We're just gonna drop tanks off in Ukraine and we don't even know who's going to drive it. And these folks have never seen these machines. I mean, there's so much involved here, and CNN and others are just like, we're sending them tanks, baby, we're sending them tanks. And they're just going to sit over there and rust. And meanwhile, you know, all the military-industrial complex over here, they're making billions. Why? Because we got to have new tanks now. We got to make new tanks. So it's a whole another job for the military-industrial complex. Let's see. We don't have time for any other clips, but just to wrap up this point, that there's a reason that our founding fathers put it in the Constitution that the commander-in-chief needs to go to Congress to get war approval, to keep us out of stuff like this. But we've ignored that, and we've created all these loopholes to where the commander-in-chief, if we want to go to war with, I don't know, Africa tomorrow, the whole continent, if we want to go to the war, well, we're already over there, by the way. If you didn't know, we're heavily vested in Africa. Fighting the terrorists, Walker. We're fighting the terrorists. Folks, there's terrorists everywhere. But if the commander-in-chief wants to, you know, go to war with, you know, a country in Africa or Russia or China, right now they can just figure out a way to do it. And they go to war, and then before you know it, we're over there. We got, you know, 10,000 Marines over there, and then we're talking about, well, you need congressional approval. No, we've already started the war. How do you backtrack on that? This is why we shouldn't have spent 20 years in Afghanistan. By the way, Russia's buying, reports are that Russia's buying the U.S. equipment that we left in Afghanistan. Yep. Russia's buying the military equipment we left in Afghanistan. They're going to take it back to Russia and then use it against Ukrainian troops. So just as we thought that the Afghanistan debacle wasn't going to backfire, it's backfiring as we speak. Be back in a few.
That we henceforth be no more children tossed to and fro, and carried about with every wind of doctrine, by the sleight of men and cunning craftiness, whereby they lie in wait to deceive. My name is Abraham Hamilton III, and this is the Hamilton Minute. Project Veritas has publicized an undercover video of Jordan Tristan Walker, Pfizer's director of mRNA scientific planning, saying the company is exploring intentional mutation of the SARS-CoV-2 virus through directed evolution in order to develop future vaccines. He said it will be